Well, hey, and welcome to another episode of Beetle Dustino coming at you today with yet another video. Probably a long-awaited video for several of you. I'm finally going to do my review on the new remixed Red and Blue albums. Beatles 1962 to 1966 and 1967 to 1970. And before we get started with that, I do want to thank all my subscribers. Thanks to any new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And do hit the notification bell so you know when I got new videos coming out. Also, please give the video a like. It really does help out the channel. And do leave a comment. I love having a discussion with everybody. But let's get on with this next video. So yeah, I feel like I'm so late to the game here with this on this review. I've not got my CD copy, and I do listen to a lot more CD. I got more opportunity. I rip it to my phone, play it in my car. I'm sorry, I will not stream it on a streaming service. I almost said the F-bomb there. Wow, Beetle Dustino's getting potty mouth. They mess up your library with Apple Music, and it plays its own thing. So if I tried to play the Red and the Blue album, it would probably play the old version of it. I've learned that it decides to play what it wants to play out of its own library, not your library. So I've given up on Apple Music, and I refuse to do Spotify or Pandora or any of that. So yeah, I know everybody's probably like, well, you could just stream it. No, I could. Yes, I guess I could, but I refuse. So I've only had a chance to really sit down and listen to it on my records I got and kind of come up with an idea of what I feel on it. And unfortunately, the records are going to give it a little bad review. I got a feeling when I get the CDs, or if I chose to stream it, I might give it a little better review. But I'm a little upset at a couple of things on the records, and we'll get to that at the end. For right now, we'll talk about the good stuff. And we'll start with the Red album, of course. And yeah, this one, I did get the box set. So I'll show you the box here. I got them out of the box right now. And but I've decided, seeing as there's been so many reviews already, I'm just going to kind of do the highlights, stuff that perked my ears up and went, ooh, I kind of like what they did there. And, you know, that. And with the Blue album, when I get to that, I guess it'll just be, there was only such a small number of songs that were remixed for this that are newly remixed, the 2023 remixes, that I've just focused on those songs, and the rest we've all been familiar with since at least 2015. So this one, of course, there was a couple just from last year, well, handful from last year with anything from Revolver. I think this one is the story of the set here, just because of that, because there is so much new on here, and it's kind of given us hope for the future. And I am going to put this down. I'm not going to sit and hold it the whole time. What caught my ear, I guess my ear on this, Please Please Me was the first one that really caught me. And the first time I listened to it, I wasn't sitting dead center with the speakers. I was sitting kind of off to the right channel a little. And where my chair that I usually sit in is kind of, unfortunately, sits that way. But I moved to my couch and sat right dead center once I noticed how off this sounded. And one of the things I thought they were getting rid of was the terrible panning, and that's what caught my ear on it, was way to the left. The guitar was way to the left on Please Please Me. And I noticed it when I sat in the center this time, and it still seemed way to the left. And that was really all that caught me on that. It still sounded great. And overall, I'm going to just get this out of the way. I've been very happy with all these remixes. There's been none of them that I've like, oh God, that's terrible. None of them, including I Am the Walrus, but we'll get to that. I guess I Want to Hold Your Hand was the next one that really caught me. My note here, I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm holding my notes here. I wrote bright. It seemed really bright and shiny, and the bass just sounded absolutely fantastic on I Want to Hold Your Hand. That was the one thing that really stood out to me on there. A Hard Day's Night was the next one that really caught my ear. The drums and percussion was what I wrote down on that. There seemed to be so much more. I knew it was always there, but just you couldn't hear it so clear, and now it's so clear. Yeah, always there, but hiding is what I wrote. And then right away, that does start out the B-side there, side 2 of all the disc altogether, and right from the needle drop, it was like night and day difference. It just kicked right in and had you right from the as my intro does. I might have to update my intro maybe with the new 2023 mix. Moving on from A Hard Day's Night to the film Help, and the next one was Ticket to Ride that really caught my ear. The kick drum really stood out on that one. Again, it was always kind of there, but not so clear and not so up front. You could kind of just barely hear it. And I do believe the drums, especially the kick drums, are kind of the story of this mix. From other reviews I've seen and just from my impressions myself, I was like, yeah, I'm seeing whatever, or hearing, I should say, what everybody else is hearing. Yesterday was the next one. I thought it was such a great balance on the quartet. It was split really nice. Seemed like the violins and that and Paul's acoustic were kind of on the left side. Paul's vocals were dead center in the middle, and kind of seemed that they kind of flipped around a bit, but it still seemed very centered. And then it was like the cellos and stuff was on the right. And just sounded great. Absolutely great. Really nice balance with the quartet and Paul's acoustic there. You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. It's one of my favorite songs that isn't one of their big songs. I was always shocked. Like I said, I've never got that into the Red and the Blue album. When it got reissued in 2010 was the first time I ever got a copy of the Red album. I had looked at friends' track listing. I'd had a couple friends in high school that had the fat box CDs. Brought him in one day, and I was kind of looking through the CD and looking at the package and everything. And I always kind of picked through them because I wanted the albums over the compilation. And I was kind of shocked when she had both sets with her one day, and I, hey, can I look at those? And because you can't look at them in the store in the package, of course. At that time, they were fairly new. I remember looking through, and I was really shocked that You've Got to Hide Your Love Away was on there, because I always kind of thought that was more of an album, kind of one of the album gems of theirs. But, that's the thing with the Beatles. Even their album gems, even their B-sides could be, top 10 A-sides for other artists. I mean, that's the brilliance of the Beatles. Every song pretty much is, they've got one or two here and there that aren't. But yeah, I've always loved You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. My note here, the vocals in the verse was very centered and narrow, kind of like you're looking through a hole. And then when it got to the chorus, how it went so full and big, and I thought that was really cool. And I think that's probably how it was mixed before, because it does seem like it gets kind of, and that's one thing, if I ever hear that song covered, people emphasize the hey so much, and it's not. It's hey, it's just that they bring that a little more forward at that point, and I think people misinterpret that so much. I haven't heard it covered that often, but when I have heard it covered, they overemphasize the hey on the hey, you've got to hide your love away. And I totally did my own little thing on it. That was not the right notes at all, but yeah, they overemphasize the hey, and I've always thought John's hey on that wasn't so overemphasized, but always one of my favorite songs though. That would probably, if I ever could figure out a top 10 Beatles songs, I would think that might make the top 10. That would be, I think, too hard for me to do though. Next one I got was We Can Work It Out. It was really bright and clear is what I wrote. The guitars sound amazing was my note here on it. Day Tripper, again, that kick drum kicking in, always a favorite of mine. I think I've told this story before too. One of the first CDs I bought, I'd had my parents' cassette of the Blue Album, 1967 to 70, and I had the cassette of Abbey Road of theirs, and then an LP of Abbey Road, early Beatles, and Hey Jude was their collection when I got started. And the first time I added to that collection, it was Past Masters Volume 2 at the time, and that kicks off with Day Tripper. So I've always had such a good anticipation of Day Tripper, kicking off what I knew was going to be a great adventure in music, listening to the Beatles. So I've always had, a little place in my heart for Day Tripper because of that. The kick drum again in that just kicked in so well, and you could really hear the play of Paul's bass off of the drum. Yeah, I wrote always a favorite, love it even more. So there we go on that. I gotta go to my next page on my notes here, and Nowhere Man was my next one. I made a kind of a note on, and the opening vocals, kind of that a cappella before the instruments kick in. Wow, did that sound fantastic. The blending they did with that was just great. And again, once again, the drums was, I think, the story of that song too. I'm kind of through the main album, the original album tracks here, one note I said was the Rubber Soul tracks seem to be so well done, and I believe that's because Giles has had those done. I know right after Revolver came out last year, he said he was already working on Rubber Soul, and I'm guessing Rubber Soul has been done and was planned that it was this year, but they kind of push it back. So I feel like Rubber Soul was done, and all these other tracks were done quick to get this out. Rubber Soul, I think that's why those tracks stand out so much, is because those were ready to go. That full album was supposed to be experienced already, but it got held back for this project, I guess. And what a project it's been. I mean, I kind of am like, another compilation and whatever, and an old compilation just added to and remixed, big deal. I've been that way, yes, but the fact that it's tied in with a brand new single, that's pretty awesome. So I don't want to put this down at all. And I know the Red and the Blue albums mean so much to so many people, but yeah, I really feel like Rubber Soul was ready to go, and that's why those tracks, and I've heard a lot of other reviews saying that the Rubber Soul tracks really stand out on this. I think it's because they've had a little more time to work on them, and you could really tell that looking at this. As for the bonus tracks, I Saw Her Standing There was one that really caught my ear. I just wrote, I've always loved it. I think that was the greatest way to start off their album career, was Paul counting in 1, 2, 3, 4 on that. And the fact that they ended with Abbey Road, technically Abbey Road should be the last one. And the end. I mean, what a bookend to your album career. And then, yeah, obviously Let It Be came out after that, but it was intended to come out before, so we all know the mess on that, and we're Beatles fans. So I don't know, how many of you listened, if you listened to all the albums in a row, do you put Let It Be before Abbey Road? I know I do. So not my shelf, Let It Be is after it, but if I'm listening to it, I'm going to listen to Let It Be before I listen to Abbey Road. Because I want that full 1, 2, 3, 4, and ending with, and in the end. Yeah, there we go. Well, you're getting me singing today. This Boy was the next one. That's another one. Like I said, even their B-sides could be great hits. And I've always loved This Boy. The vocal harmonies on that is probably one of their best. And the guitars and the drums just sounded so great on this new mix. So clear and great with the guitars and drums. And the vocal blend was absolutely fantastic. Oh, and the hi-hat. I really noticed Ringo hitting that hi-hat. It was like you were sitting in the room with him, right in the studio. I was trying to figure out my note there, what I was trying to tell myself late last night when I was listening to this. You Can't Do That was another one. I didn't really have much on it. The mix sounded great, but the only thing I really said was great addition to the Red album there. That was a good pick to add on. And overall, on the Red album, kind of folding it up here, again, the drums were the big story. And I'm going to look at the bonus tracks, speaking of that, and just kind of say, do I think it deserved to be here or not? So we got, 12 on this one? Yeah, 12. I Saw Her Standing There, great addition. Twist and Shout, yes, obviously. This Boy, yes. Roll Over Beethoven and You Really Got a Hold on Me. Yeah, 2 covers, and I think 2 well-placed covers. Those have always been 2 covers that really stand out to me. You Can't Do That. I already said it in there. Yeah, I think that was a great addition. Yeah, If I Needed Someone, great one there too. I always love that song. Got to Get You Into My Life. Yep, that was definitely good. The Revolver tracks, it was so, 2 was on the original one, just 2, and Eleanor Rigby and Yellow Submarine. Got to Get You Into My Life, I'm Only Sleeping, Taxman, Here, There, and Everywhere, Tomorrow Never Knows. I would think if you were taking 2 off of there, it would be Taxman and Tomorrow Never Knows, but I guess Tomorrow Never Knows. So yeah, those were all great additions, and I can't think of anything I would have added that would have been from this era that would have fit in better. But next we'll move on to the Blue album, 1967 to 1970. Let's see, like I said, I'm not going to go over too much on this because we've got so much of it was already remixed and done, dating all the way back to the 1 Plus and, the 1 remix in 2015. So we've had it remixed since 2015 on a lot of these songs. And then 2017, we got the Sgt. Pepper's 50th Anniversary Deluxe and the remix on that. And then 2018, we had the White Album. 2019, we had Abbey Road. 2021 we had Let It Be. 2022 we had Revolver, which would have been already covered on the Red album. But so that only left us with, what was this, 1, 2, 3, 1 I got a question on, 4, 5, 6, 7 new tracks on there. One of those new tracks, of course, being Now and Then. I'm going to kind of say 8 because of how it was worded online there with the mixing. Somebody can explain it to me, or maybe they made a typo on this, I don't know. But yes, kicking off, the first one would be I Am the Walrus. The one that seems to be the big controversy with everybody seems to be people aren't liking it. I absolutely love it. I thought it was great. The sound effects kind of being brought forward, kind of some of the effects on John's vocals were really cool. I don't see an issue with it. It's cool, is what I wrote. The sitting in an English garden, waiting for the sun to come, that kind of change in the vocal, that kind of effect they put on was really super cool. I think it's always kind of been there. I think it's just they got better technology to make it work even that much better. So I really, really enjoyed I Am the Walrus, and that's probably going to be my go-to mix of it now. I think it was done so well. The Fool on the Hill, my notes show piano sticks out. Yeah, the piano really stuck out to me, so clear. Kind of that effect, I'm not sure what it is, after Sees the World Spinning Round. Sees the World Spinning... I need to stop singing because I don't got it out of my head right now. That kind of womp womp noise sounds different, but it's so clear and it really stands out. I mean, you've always heard it there. Womp, womp, womp. I wrote it down. I musically, I've always been, I need to hear, I can kind of imitate it good if I'm hearing it, but off the top of my head, I cannot. Part of the reason why I couldn't do too well in choir, because like I needed to hear another vocal like mine to sing it right. So that is Fool on the Hill. The next one would be Magical Mystery Tour, and that's the one right from the start. Sounds great overall. The guitar was really clear on it, and Magical Mystery Tour, people really love it, but it's just the same thing over and over and over again. And it really is an intro to a movie more than it is a pop song. And I've never really had a good connection with it once I realized that. And I think it's cool that it kind of gives one of the rare songs that all of them kind of got a vocal on it. That was one thing, the vocals really stood out too. I can't believe I didn't write that here. The guitars really sounded great, but so did the vocals. Just hearing each of their voices and how clear that was. The next one up would be Lady Madonna. And it says on that 2015, the mix description says 2015 from 2023. That doesn't make any sense to me. If it was 2015, you would think it would be 2023 from 2015 if you were going that way. So that really didn't make sense to me. And it seemed like there was another one that listed like that. I think it said 2015 from 2017 on one of the Sgt. Pepper's ones or something, and that really confused me. So I don't know if that was a new mix. It sounded like what I've been hearing since 2015, so I want to say it probably wasn't. Next up would be Revolution. Again, I flip-flopped my notes, so I got to make sure I'm reading this right. Kick drum again was the big thing that I noticed on it, and the guitars seem to be less fuzzy sounding. I know they are going for that fuzzy guitar sound on that, but it seemed less fuzzy than before. Still sounded great though. Old Brown Shoe would be the next one. I was really surprised. I've got more notes on Old Brown Shoe than any of them, so to me this one really stood out to me. Left channel, there was a tick tick tick, I think with a percussion thing, and that really, I've always heard it but not as clear, and that really stood out to me. Loads of drum effects I'd never even noticed before. I know that tick 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 thing that I'm thinking about I've heard, but there was a lot of other little, drumming fills and stuff that Ringo was doing there that I'd never even heard, and I was kind of blown away with that. The bass sounded fantastic too. Again, there were some vocals I had never even heard. One particular, I could tell it was Paul, and I had never even heard that in there. One of the kind of the background vocals that Paul was doing, and really so clear, and I could, immediately, oh yeah, that's Paul there. And then George, towards the end of the song, there was kind of a new effect on his voice that really sounded cool, or at least it was maybe clearer than what they could do before. I got Now and Then up next because that would be chronologically track order how they did it on the LPs. And the only thing, I'm not going to get too much on the song, more just the placement of the song. Why they didn't put that on the end, even on the LP. It just seems weird kicking off the bonus tracks. That should be at the end. They already kind of screwed that up with that. So, Hey Bulldog, yeah, where John says no one understands, there's kind of a different effect on the vocal, it seems like, from before. And then there's a pow 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 type drum effect right after where he says you can talk to me, and then it's the boom 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 pow pow pow, another kind of effect. You've always kind of heard it there, but not so clear, and they really brought that sound effect forth and to the forefront, and it really sounds cool. That you can talk to me, and then that pow pow pow, it just really sounded great. And I know there was another kind of part too, not just right after you can talk to me, but yeah, that really sounded great. So, and that would be everything on the Blue album there.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, that's not it for the Blue album. We got a little more to cover here. So, for the Red album, I went through the new added on tracks, bonus tracks, I guess, on the LPs here, but just added into the rest of the, on the CDs. Well, there was 12 new ones on the Red album, 9 new ones on the Blue album. I'll just kind of go through what I think of how they are there, I guess. So, Now and Then, I think is good, obviously. It's just in the wrong place on the LPs. On the CD, it's on the right place at the end. Should be at the end. Blackbird, great choice. Dear Prudence, also a great choice. Glass Onion, now, pretty much I went through the Red album. All those were good. I didn't have any problems with any of those. Glass Onion, though, I'm a little puzzled on. I think that's an odd pick. If we're trying to get one off of the White album, I think that's what they were going for. I think they were trying to go for John off of the White album. I think Your Blues, or even I think maybe they were just trying to find a shorter song too, was probably part of it. So everybody's got something to hide except for me and my monkey. I think those would have been better picks. Your Blues is going to be a little long if that was the case. But also I think off of the White album, better picks than even those two would have been either Birthday or especially Helter Skelter. So that I'm really kind of puzzled on the Glass Onion one. Within You, Without You, I kind of wrote meh. I really like the song. I appreciate what it's about and everything. The musicianship on it and everything. And George with those musicians and everything, and that I think is cool. I think The Inner Light would have been a better pick, though. That's kind of my opinion on that. Hey Bulldog would be the next one. That was a great choice. No qualms with that. Oh Darling, also I love that song. I think that was a great pick. I think that's a kind of a hidden gem on Abbey Road. And to add that on to the Blue album, I think is a good choice, because the Blue album doesn't need to be the greatest hits. So good choice with Oh Darling. I Need Mine, I got no problem with that. I think that was a good choice. Get another George out there. I can't think of anything that would be better in its place. So I Want You, She's So Heavy. I think that's a good pick too. It's a song I think needs probably another kind of hidden gem on the Abbey Road that I think needs to get explored a little more. And I'm glad that they did include it on here because of that. I think it's just in the wrong place, because another one with the sequencing on the LPs and the CD, it's in its proper order with the Abbey Road tracks, and then the Let It Be stuff is after that. That's how it should be, right? And I know it's got that abrupt cutoff end. I think that's why they tacked it on to the end instead on the vinyl, but why they didn't do that with the CDs again. So I don't know. Some puzzling things with the sequencing on the Blue album. Well, the LPs, I should say. Yeah, the bonus tracks on this, I'd say overall are good. There's just a couple of them that I'm a little puzzled on the Blue album. Red album passed with flying colors with the new additions there. So there we go. Now we can get back to the video.
So with this, I think overall the mixes I'm very happy with. Very, very happy with. This is where I'm going to get into the criticism, and it's on the LPs, the sequencing, why they couldn't have sequenced in the songs like they did with the CDs. Red and Blue album have always been in order of release on the songs, and why they couldn't have added the new songs in with it. I mean, it's a wholly new remix thing. It's half-speed mastered, so it's not like they're just cutting it off of an old mastering that they had. They had to do a whole new mastering anyway, so why not put the tracks the right way and make it make sense? The two that really bugged me was Now and Then being put at the beginning of the bonus disc, And again, on the bonus disc, the I Want You, She's So Heavy being put at the end, which, yes, it makes sense with the way that song just cuts off. That does make sense at the end. Just like on Abbey Road, it's the end of side A, and you got that dead silence, and then you flip it over and whatnot. But so this kind of ending the album, but it wasn't in the right order again. We're on the CD, it's in its right order in terms of time and everything. So I don't know. I got a feeling once I get the CDs and get listening to them, I'm going to have a little different opinion on everything. I'm a little upset at the vinyl on that. I absolutely love the colored vinyl. And speaking of which, we'll take a look at it here. Only look at one disc from each, but here's disc 1 from the Red Album, of course. Never noticed I do got some of that marbling. Everybody's been talking about they get some marbling in there. I do got some of that in mine. Because now I got the light set up here, I should look at that a little better. Yeah, I do see it. That's kind of cool. I think that's so great how they put the background on the apple with the red and the blue too, so you get it kind of blending in, especially with the colored vinyl. Looks just great. And there is the Blue Album, disc 1, and the side 1 and the side 2. Not going to show the others because they all look the same. Yeah, there is a little bit of marbling in this one too. But yeah, there we go. So there is my thoughts on it all. So overall, I'm very happy with the mixes. Overall, I'm very not happy with the sequencing on the CD or on the vinyl. I think once I get the CDs, like I said, I think I'm going to have a different story to that particular version of it. And why there's got to be 2 different versions of this new red and blue with the sequencing, and it really does throw you off on that. Why they treated it like a bonus disc when they were adding it in anyway, and then the CD they just added in, why they didn't just tack it on to the back of where the original track listing would have been. I don't know. This one seems odd, but I think that's where we're going to leave this. We're going to leave it a little open-ended until I get my CDs and can get a little opinion more on that. And maybe I'll even get a little deeper into my thoughts on the mixes once I do that. Yeah. I'm going to get wrapping up. Again, before I do that, though, I do want to thank all my subscribers. Thanks to any new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And do hit the notification bell so you know when I got my next video coming out. Also, please give the video a like. If you've stuck around to this point, you must like it. So please give it a like. And do leave a comment. I love having a discussion with everybody. Of course, let me know your thoughts on these new mixes. Did you like I Am the Walrus? I sure did. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the big controversy is. It's different, that's for sure. But I think it's a really good difference. Probably my favorite, actually, out of all the mixes. So there we go. That's Beatle Dustino, what he's going to say. And seeing as I'm saying that's Beatle Dustino, I am going to say I'm Beatle Dustino, signing out.